Hello, fans, and welcome. It's official, the Arizona Coyotes have relocated to Utah, and while the season is over, the fun is about to begin. I'm Randon, and alongside my co-hosts Dustin and Ryan, we will bring you inside the team, giving you all the news, highlights, and an in-depth analysis on everything the NHL and Utah has to offer. Welcome to another episode of The Two-Line Pass. Hey, welcome back, fans. It's been a long time. It's been a long summer. We're welcoming you back to the Two-Line Pass podcast. After our long summer break, I'm here with Ryan and Dustin. We're ready to jump right back in to the hockey talk. Now, the season is right around the corner, but before we get into the season, we did just come back from our summer break. A lot of fun, a lot of sun in the summertime. Dustin, did you do anything good times this summer?
I went to Oregon. I took a vacation up to Oregon. I played some poker. I argued with a lot of people about college football on the internet, which is like a favorite pastime of mine. So yeah, really good summer.
Ryan, how about you? Did you do anything fun? Did you go to Oregon?
I did not go to Oregon. That was not on my summer bingo card 2024. I used my summer for a lot of reset time, kind of got my head back into a space I like it in, made some new friends, been kind of branching more out and being outgoing and getting real ready for this hockey season, keeping up with the boys, and got a lot to talk about today.
Excellent. I did a lot of lagoon, and I also built a swimming pool. Can you guys believe that? With my own two hands, I built a swimming pool, but they never call me Randon, the pool builder, unfortunately. But I'm excited. I had a lot of fun in the summer. I'm glad you guys got some time off. This is about the time that we'll be back each year. This would actually, if this wasn't the inaugural season, this would be episode 1 of the next season. So we'll talk you guys through the free agency, but then we'll have a summer break, basically from the beginning of July up until the second or third week of September as we approach training camp and then get into the season in October. Today, though, we want to jump back into it because we understand there's going to be a lot of new fans. And one thing that we want you to understand is how the divisional alignments look, how the conference alignment looks. And we want to kind of go over the teams that we're going to be seeing a lot in the Central Division where we're at. So the Western Conference is broken into 2 divisions, the Central and the Pacific. And then over in the East, it's the Metropolitan and the Atlantic Division. So 4 divisions coming at you with 8 teams in each. And so we want to go over that. So what we're going to do is we each picked a couple of teams. We want to walk you through we're not going to go into the nitty-gritty of them, right? This isn't a podcast about the Colorado Avalanche. This is a podcast about the Utah Hockey Club. But we do want you guys to be familiar with at least some big names, some people you'll be seeing, some national storylines and things like that. And so let's take a look and see how the Central Division shakes up. So the Central Division, this is last year's standings, of course, where the Dallas Stars won the division, took the number 1 seed. Followed shortly by Winnipeg Jets, which I think surprised a lot of people. Then the Colorado Avalanche, who have been good for quite some time, including a Stanley Cup win a few years ago. Nashville Predators, St. Louis Blues, Minnesota Wild, of course the Coyotes, and then the Chicago Blackhawks. So that is your Central Division. But if you don't know anything about any of these teams, sit your butt down, turn your headphones on, because we're going to walk you through the best of the best on those teams. Ryan, I want you to break it down first. Why don't you tell us a little bit about a couple of the teams that you've been following?
All right, so the teams that I have been mostly following from this division, and until the Utah Hockey Club was announced, we all were former fans of other clubs, and I just am a fan of NHL hockey, to be honest. I got teams I love. I just want to watch hockey. It's the best. So I chose Winnipeg, the Winnipeg Jets, because I believe they're one of the most fun teams to watch in the NHL because they have it all. They have arguably the best goalie and current reigning Vezina Trophy winner, Connor Hellebuck, who is, I'm going to say, the best goalie in the division other than our boy Connor Ingram. Connor Ingram smokes him. Just wait. Now, I'll get to that later. But with the Winnipeg Jets, they're a very fast team. and they're very defensive minded almost, which is kind of weird for being a smaller, faster team, but they all play defense, and their breakouts make them exciting to watch. So I think they're going to be one of the more challenging in division teams to play against, but also one of the more fun ones, because I think the games, if we can keep close with them, they'll be very, very exciting hockey games. And other than Connor Hellebuck, they got guys like Mark Scheifele. He's a smaller dude, but super fast. Their captain is Adam Lowry, who, great captain. He's one of the better two-way forwards in the NHL. And then Minnesota was the other team I chose. And I chose the Wild really just because I feel like they're a team we can easily catch. They finished 10 points ahead of us. They only won 3 more games than us, and then they lost 3 more games in overtime than or 4 more games in overtime than we did. So they lost 4 more. So they got more points that way. But when you look at the roster compare, they're a team we can catch in gap if we play correctly. Because they're good, don't get me wrong. They got guys like Kirill Kaprizov, Matt Zuccarello, who's always fun to watch, and then Hall of Fame goaltender Marc-Andre Fleury, who this is his last season. So those are fun games to... So, shut up, Randon. I know you don't like him, but you can't hate the guy. Come on, he's been exciting. He's fun for the NHL, and you know it. But, but Minnesota I chose because I think they're the main team we can catch. And if we can get out ahead of them early, I feel like we should easily be able to take them in the standings, at least in the division. So those are the teams I chose, and I think those games are going to be fun to watch, and I just like those 2 teams, I'm going to be honest. I like the Minnesota Wild. They've done nothing to no one ever. They're just kind of there doing their best. And so I think we're going to have some good fun with those 2. Winnipeg will be a difficult game. I'm going to be out however many times we play them, no matter where we play them. Winnipeg will be tough, but we do have a better team than last year. We're not the college team they think we are anymore.
I've heard from multiple sources. I have no idea how true it is. I have not experienced it firsthand yet. But if you are a formerly known as Twitter user, apparently the Jets Twitter legion is ruthless. So you might get some chirps from them, and we'll be ready for that when that comes. But I do think the Winnipeg Jets are just an exciting team to watch, and they do have, like you said, without a doubt, the best goalie in the division, and arguably one of the best goalies in the West. I would think you would have to do a toss up between that and Dallas's goalie, but Hellebuck is just incredible. And Minnesota, just a team that's difficult to dislike. They're like, I don't want to be rude, because that kind of is like, they're the lovable losers. Like they're not, but like they haven't won anything, but like they're not losers. They're just difficult to dislike. They usually don't have scum sucking lowlives play for them. They're just good, honest folk, like most people from Minnesota. They're just,
they're fun to watch.
Yep. Are they Canadian? Are they not? Nobody's quite sure. But
they're America's Canada.
Exactly. Thank you, Ryan, for the breakdown of Winnipeg and Minnesota. Dustin, speaking of goalies that might be able to compete with Hellebuck for best in the league, Dustin's going to break down a couple of options. Dustin, you've got, if I am not mistaken, your diehard long life fandom of the Dallas Stars at stake here, and then you're going to follow up a little bit of Nashville. I'm not sure which ones you want to talk about first, but Dustin, the floor is yours, my friend.
So I can go with either one, but you led me right down the path of goaltenders, which, I mean, honestly, I could go with either one of these, but I'm going to go with the obvious of the 2 when you bring up goaltending, and that's Dallas. Of course, I knew that you 2 would leave this team for me when we were discussing what teams we each wanted to cover and talk about. I sort of just let you 2 choose yours first, because I thought, Dallas they're a good team. There's a lot of big names. They're easy to cover. They're easy to preview and talk about. Surely one of them will take Dallas and not make me do this and go through it. But here we are. They're a team that's easy to love, and a team that's easy to cover, and a team that I am not a fan of anymore at all. So here's your Dallas Stars. They were the best team, at least in the regular season, in the West last year, the second best team in the NHL overall. And their season went up in flames last year at the exact same place it did the year before. Game 6 of the Western Conference Finals, where they were eliminated from the NHL playoffs. They did need to make a few changes this year, and they were a little like hamstrung financially. They bought out Ryan Suter. They traded away Chris Tanev's free agent rights. I believe he went to Minnesota, I think, is what I want to say. But those moves allowed them to bring back Matt Duchene. They brought in Colin Blackwell. They also added Matthew Dumba from Tampa Bay, who spent part of the 23-24 season with the hold on, let me check my notes here. The Arizona Coyotes?
Never heard of
whoever
them.
they are.
It must be a KHL team or something.
Maybe that like ECHL, I lose track of some of those teams. Like they establish themselves and then they fold so quickly, just they're gone before you even know it. So who knows? But yeah, he came from that team. Joe Pavelski retired. Rest in peace, my sweet prince. Dallas heading into this year, they are still one of the deepest teams in the league. They have a good defense, a good offense, and elite level goaltending, as we talked about with Ottinger. They'll be one of the favorites, at least heading into the season in the preseason, to be hoisting Lord Stanley's Cup at the end of the year. The second team, like I said, that I was going to talk about is the Nashville the Nashville Predators. 6th place in the West last season. They took the number 3 seed Vancouver to 6 games in the first round of the NHL playoffs, where all but 2 of those games were 1-goal margins. One of the 2 that weren't was a game that they won. So the only game that they lost by more than 1 goal was actually the closeout game that they lost 4-2. They were sort of in the same boat as the Utah Hockey Club, where it's sort of like, okay, where are we going to go? Are we going to rebuild? We've got some talent, but are we going to rebuild? Are we going to bring in some talent around them? And they went with the same exact game plan as Utah did. They added Steven Stamkos in this offseason. He's led the NHL in scoring, which is the Richard Trophy, for those of you who didn't know before I looked this up, like me, which is the most goals in a season. He's twice won the Stanley Cup. He is a 7-time All-Star, and he is the all-time points and goals leader in the entire planet Earth for people who were born in the 1990s. They also added Jonathan Marchessault, who won the Conn Smythe Trophy for the Golden Knights in the 2023 Stanley Cup Finals, who Randon will be familiar with as a former Vegas Golden Knights fan, who just let him walk for nothing. They're just like, all right, you can go. You're a free agent, sign with whoever the hell you want. We're just going to let you go. They join a really decent core of players in Nashville, led by Forsberg. They were already a playoff team. Their defense is probably in the upper half of the NHL. Jussi Saros is one of the best netminders in the league. Nashville will be more than likely a playoff team and sort of like a fringe Stanley Cup contender. They'll be like probably we'll go over our predictions after we're done with all the breakdowns, but they'll probably be like an outside contender for the Stanley Cup and a definite playoff team is what I would say.
Man, we are leaving a lot.
I had one quick question. Dustin, did you refer to the most goals as the Richard Trophy?
Yes.
I believe that is the Richard. I believe that is the Rocket Richard Trophy. And then the Conn Smythe, I believe that is Smythe. I'm not sure if this is like
Smythe.
A joke I missed.
I said Smythe.
But no, you said
I heard Smythe. I heard Smythe.
I said Smythe. I know Smythe.
Did you?
And I should have known Richard. That's a Canadian name. I should have, or it's a French.
Okay, I was
name.
just like,
I should have
did
known
I
that.
hear that?
See,
Did
I
he say
know
Richard?
it came to the NHL from Montreal. It's named after that player. So like, I should have known, and it should have clicked in my head. It's not Richard, but smooth brain. I just have smooth brain, no wrinkles, no information sinks into it. It just slides right off like water off a duck's back. So yeah, if you want to get angry at the hasn't been a huge NHL fan guy that you brought on to help bring along the non-hockey fans into it, that's okay. I'll take it. If you're listening to this,
no anger.
and you want to call me out,
I just wanted to
I'll do
correct you to save you from the fans coming after you. I was just
No,
trying to help.
I'm okay with the fans coming after me, but I will say I did say Smythe. I did say Smythe. I know that one.
Okay, then I misheard.
I did not know the Richard Trophy.
I heard Smythe too, and I think this is how you get engagement, by saying something like the Rocket Richard Trophy. That's how you get engagement. So,
dude, many Canadians are going to hear that and be furious.
Yep. I saw the 5-head play by Dustin. So,
see what we should do. We should just like in post go back and like horribly edit that, and then remove this portion of it, and it's just as I'm talking about it. As they signed Steven Stamkos, who won the Richard Trophy. Back
the Rocket Richard. Oh, but it's going to be that Nashville is one of those teams that I think they did try to make the jump. They said, you know what, like you alluded to, Dustin, rebuild's over. We're in win now mode, and they kind of pulled the trigger on anybody that they could get. And hey, they should, some aging talent there, but Stamkos, I would have loved to see him come to Utah. That was a prediction I made in the summer, is that Utah goes aggressively for him. I don't know how aggressively they may have gone, but any team would have been happy to get an aging Stamkos. Tampa Bay is probably ready to move on and not willing to overpay him. But yeah, Nashville is absolutely a better team now, having Steven Stamkos on their team. And you're right, Saros is one of the best goalies if he's happy, healthy, and productive. I still think Ottinger might be the best. Between him and Hellebuyck, it would be a toss-up, but I do love Jake Ottinger so much. He's the only reason I even tolerate the Dallas Stars and their scum-sucking low-life team that they have, which is why they can't get past Game 6 of the Western Conference Finals, because they haven't built a culture of anything good in Dallas.
How dare you disrespect Jamie Benn like that? How dare you?
Oh, the guy who almost kills a man on the ice.
Oh, his wires crossed. We all have moments. We all have bad moments.
Jamie Benn tried to behead Mark Stone. He tried to literally cut his head off.
He did. It was bad. That was a bad moment. But Bertuzzi's moment was worse. We can all be honest. Todd Bertuzzi should never have played hockey again.
That was is it Steve Moore?
Yep.
Did he hit?
Yep. Broke his neck, yeah. And then you've got, of course, the Marty McSorley stick slap, where the guy in the back, he's skating behind me, just whacks him with his stick. There's a lot of cheap shots out there. And so, no, Jamie Benn, I would never say is a cheap shot artist, but I still haven't forgiven him.
He's got an anger problem, and his wires cross every now and then, and it's sketchy.
But you can expect when Utah plays Dallas, like, you're going to get that level of aggression and talent and physicality, and we've got to be ready for it. And right now, Dallas is, I think, still the team to beat. We'll go over that more in depth, but an excellent breakdown there, Dustin. And Ryan, thank you guys. And let's round it off. There's just 3 more teams left in the Central to go over. So I'll go over a team that I used to be a fan of, and I get still a lot of crap from switching from them to Las Vegas, and that's the Colorado Avalanche. Right? These guys finished just below Winnipeg. Actually, were for quite some time were favored. Were going to win the entire West. Kind of had a lackluster end, and Winnipeg had Colorado's number all throughout the regular season, but didn't matter in the playoffs. The Colorado offense is so talented. They made Connor Hellebuyck look like a ECHL goalie. It was incredible. I don't think anybody saw it coming. It was crazy, but that's the offensive talent that Colorado has. Of course, you have Nathan MacKinnon, second in scoring last year's like 140 points. The guy is maybe one of the best centers in the game right now. Well, he is one of the best centers. So I guess it's not. The question is he the best center? Because he's absolutely one of the best. So Nathan McKinnon, though, that's a guy you're going to see on the national screen. Is if you don't know him already, and you can get a ticket to watch Colorado and Utah play, you're going to watch Nathan McKinnon put on a clinic because he is fast, he is powerful, and he scores. I mean, he's just a playmaker through and through. And he plays alongside another great player, Mikko Rantanen, who is phenomenal on the wing. And now their only question mark, of course, is Mr. 6-month suspension himself, Valeri Nichushkin, who's incredibly impactful when they win. But if you haven't been paying attention, he had a couple of drama moments in back-to-back playoff series. Yeah, he's getting a little party happy in the hotels before, and then just doesn't play in the playoffs. The guy goes and parties, and obviously, like, we don't want to make fun of substance abuse because a lot of people in recovery, and it's a very serious thing. However, it's just weird that it happened twice, 2 years in a row. And so he got suspended 6 months for violating his basically like his player probation terms. So, but when he comes back, he's going to be an integral part. Assuming they keep him, I can't imagine they'd walk away from him. But Valeri is an incredibly potent point per game player when he's there, but he's got some off ice issues. In his stead, you've got Arturi Lehkonen, who's an incredible winger coming. And then, of course, you have Cale Makar who's one of the truly offensively gifted defensemen in the league, and Devin Taves, who's generally his pairing. And so those are probably like the big names that you'll want to watch, even if you don't pay attention to Colorado. You're going to hear those names, especially Nathan McKinnon. The next question mark they have, though, is they don't really have an elite goalie. Georgiev is serviceable, but he's a lot like Stuart Skinner in Edmonton, where it's like, well, you just kind of hope that the offense scores more goals, so you don't really need to lean on him. He's not a goalie, unlike for Utah. I don't think Colorado has a goalie that can steal games for them. They have a goalie that can just be good enough that they win, but I don't think he's ever going to be that elite tier 1 goalie that he's the reason they win. And that's what like Hallebuck is. And that's what Jake Ottinger is, where the team maybe plays so bad, he carries them to a win. And Colorado doesn't have that, and they haven't for a long time. And I don't see them getting that. And so that's how you beat them. That's how you beat Colorado, is you withstand their offensive pressure, and then you're going to have the opportunity to score goals. So it's going to be a lot of fun. When Utah plays Colorado, it's going to be a lot of speed, a lot of action, and it's going to be fun to watch. Now on kind of the flip side, it's not terribly flip side, but you got the St. Louis Blues, who finished 5th in the Central, obviously did not make the playoffs, just like us. 5th, not good enough. Now, St. Louis does not have too many national known guys. Like, if you have not paid attention to hockey, you probably can't name, other than maybe one player, you probably can't name a single player on the St. Louis Blues roster because they just aren't household names, except for maybe one guy, Jordan Binnington, their goalie. And here's why he's a household name. He won a Stanley Cup with them. He was going to be the second coming of Jonathan Quick. This kid was lightning fast and a butterfly that would make anybody jealous. And he really carried the St. Louis Blues to that championship where they beat Boston. But then he kind of the talent flew the coop, because in came this crazy bug where all he wanted to really do was fight people. And that seems to be all he really wants to do now. So you may have seen him on ESPN. You may have seen him on the local news where he just literally will just attack people. Jordan Binnington is a pest. He's a punk, and he will attack people. And it will be only a matter of time before he goes after somebody in Utah, because he does it to everybody. He was a really incredible goalie, and he's still good, right? He's got like a 9.5 save percentage and an under 3 goals against average. So it's not like he's bad, but he's just a punk. He's just an absolute punk, and he's going to get knocked out, and it's just ridiculous. So you're going to see him. He comes out of his crease, and then he just punches people. But they have 4 very talented forwards that you'd have to, if you were a St. Louis Blues fan, you maybe have to wrestle your conscience. on whether these guys deserve the contracts they got. They all have about 8 million plus contracts. So most of their salary cap, which both the Blues and Colorado have very little cap space left, unlike Utah, where we got to really splash around and we could still make some moves. St. Louis has like 1.7 million left. Colorado has less than 2 million as well. So they guys are both capped. And St. Louis paid 4 guys 8 million plus, and only one guy's a point per game player. And that's Robert Thomas. They've also got Jordan Kyrou, Pavel Buchnevich, and then Braden Shen, who Ryan, I think we all know as Luke Shen's embarrassing little brother. But those 4 guys make up a lot of their salary cap. And Robert Thomas is extremely good. Jordan Kyrou's extremely good. And Pavel's good too. But are they worth the money? We're going to find out because they're all on long-term contracts. We're going to be seeing them for 4 or 5 years, those guys. And so we'll see. I'm not going to make a judgment. I don't watch them. I don't know, but it makes me happy that I was looking at the production, and Utah's offense gets the same type of production at about a $7 million a year discount. So this is the thing, though. This is, organizations take risks and they pay guys. And the good thing about the guys on St. Louis, they're all in their mid-20s. So they're about to what we would consider their athletic hockey prime. And so is St. Louis going to be good over the next few years? We'll see. They've got some question marks at defense, but I think St. Louis is obviously a team that Utah can beat. Every time we're on the ice with them, St. Louis is not a significantly better team than Utah. We can absolutely compete with them skater for skater. And then come the Blackhawks, or as I like to call them, the Chicago Bedards. If you don't know, Bedard is the future of the NHL. There is no other player in the NHL other than Connor Bedard. First, it was Gretzky, and then the guy that was before Gretzky, and then it was Gretzky, and then it remained Gretzky for a long time. Then it was Sidney Crosby. He had his moment for like 2 months, and then it was Alex Ovechkin ruled with an iron fist and was the undisputed number 1 player in the world. There was no questions at all. And then Connor McDavid came along, and now Connor Bedard is here. I think the NHL naturally wants to move from Connor McDavid to Connor Bedard, so you're going to hear him everywhere. You're going to see him everywhere. He's their guy. But does that alone make Chicago good? No, it does not. But they tried. They certainly tried to get good by going out and getting a bunch of guys who are practically 90. Now, they're not that bad, but they did go out and they got a lot of veterans. And what that did is this was not a win now mode. What this was is you put around veteran guys, and what you're saying is over the next 4 to 5 years, Connor Bedard and anybody around him are going to be elite level players. They went out and got Teuvo Teravainen, who had actually won a Stanley Cup with Chicago back in 2015. They got Tyler Bertuzzi, who played with the Maple Leafs, who's a very solid guy. I know we don't like him. The name alone, right, is enough to make you vomit. But
it's really just his dad. It's just the
right.
dad. I just hate Tyler's dad. I have not.
Yep. If you guys, we don't need to talk about the Bertuzzis because they're just not worth it. But generally speaking, and this is a technical term that I've used, scum-sucking lowlife. Pat Maroon, though, not so much. I don't dislike him. Pat Maroon, multiple Stanley Cup champion. Pat Maroon, coming from Boston, they picked him up. And then Alec Martinez from Las Vegas on defense. So basically what Chicago said is, right, we have the next Guy Lafleur, and let's just put a bunch of grizzled veterans around him. And in 4 years, see what happens, right? So that's what they did. But you're going to see it everywhere. Connor Bedard, Connor Bedard, Connor Bedard, Connor Bedard, Connor Bedard, Connor Bedard. I'm going to say it 17 times because I think the national media gets paid $1 every time they say his name. So will we see that check from the NHL? Maybe. I don't know. But he's the only reason Chicago is even relevant. He's the only reason they've been relevant for a while since their dynasty ended in the mid-2000s. They have not been relevant, and they will not be relevant for a few more years. They will be only slightly better. Only slightly better. And as proof of that, if you got $100 lying around that you want to burn, but maybe you think that Chicago somehow made good moves to win the division, just to win the division, they're plus 12,500. So if I understand betting right, which I may not, but for a $100 bet, if the Chicago Blackhawks win the Central Division, you win $12,500. Dustin, is that how it works?
So you said if you bet 100, you win 12,500?
Yes, they're plus 12,500. 12,500 is the odds. Plus 12,500.
They're plus 12?
Plus
12,500.
Yes, plus 12,500 to win the division. Not the Stanley Cup, just the division. And I think that's how it works, right? It's like $100 to win that, or it's $1 to win that. But I think it's if you bet
it's $100 to win that.
Yeah, so you win for $100 if you've got maybe money, you don't care about money and you don't, inflation is not bothering you, but you want to show how wealthy you are, go waste $100 and bet on the Chicago Blackhawks to win the Central Division. Because worst case scenario, you lost $100. Best case scenario, you win 12,500. But they're not going to do it. They have no shot. No shot. But we all know the best team in the Central Division is, of course, your Utah Hockey Club. And are they going to win the Central Division? That's really the question that everybody wants to know. Are the Utah Hockey Club going to win the Central Division? Or better question is, how many more points than the next closest are they going to get when they're atop? And the short answer is no. No, they will not win the division. They have a very, very slim shot. They are not the least favorite, obviously Chicago is, but plus 2,000 to win the division, so not out of the realm of possibility. But guys, I'm going to bring up the graphic that showed how the teams fared the previous season, and let's kind of talk it amongst ourselves. Ryan, I want to hear from you first, and then we'll just kind of have a conversation about where you think these 8 teams end up in the Central Division next season.
I'm going to be honest. I feel like that top 4 is looking pretty set, especially with the progress Nashville has made and the, I would say, regression Colorado made with losing Nichushkin or whatever his name is. So I feel like, but Dallas and Winnipeg, there's your top 2 in my opinion for the division. There's your top 2. It's going to be them basically battling for whoever wants to be first. But then when you get down to the bottom 4, I feel like St. Louis didn't do enough. And if you're looking at the same thing I'm looking at, they only won 7 more games than us and scored 7 more goals than we did. I feel like that's pretty jumpable, especially with the improvements our team made. I already covered what I think we can do to the Wild if we get out to a good start. And if all the guys on our team really do take that next step forward, I feel like we could be that, not necessarily beating Nashville, but I think we could be fighting with Nashville, which would maybe put us in just outside of the playoffs or, maybe sneaking in as an 8th seed somewhere. You know what I mean? But I would say more or less our hopes are like a good hope would be we go up 2 spots to where the Blues are, or we stay right around the same. But I think those top 4 spots really are set. And then the bottom 4, other than Chicago, we could easily jump those 2 teams if we have everything work out.
Using the same logic that Ryan just did, I'm going to correct Ryan here. He said that St. Louis only scored 7 more goals than Utah than Utah did. Utah actually scored more goals. They scored 256 versus St. Louis's 239. Their differential is 7 goals because Utah gave up more goals than the Blues did. And where you're talking about like moving up in the standings, Utah/Arizona was already like offensively better than the other teams in the bottom 4, but they've made their improvements on the defensive side of the puck. Like they've brought in defense to shore up that goals against number. So that's where you move up against those teams. If you can keep the offense still better than those other teams and bring down that number of what you've given up in terms of goals against, you're moving up just based purely on that. And that's what when you look at like hockey and just a purely like numbers and mathematical standpoint, like scoring the same amount of goals and giving up fewer goals is going to make you're going to win more games. You move up the standing. So that's where Utah makes their move up towards like the 5 spot where they're battling to get into the top 4. Is the improvements that they've made on the defense.
Oh, absolutely. It's gonna be great to see that shoring up of the blue line, and then I do believe and I hope that Connor Ingram 100% gets the undisputed. He's our guy in net and gets that 60 kind of starts. So no tandem, no back and forth. Connor Ingram's our guy. And when you have that stability in net and add the defenseman that we added, I think that just adds that whole nother level that we're going to move up. So obviously Chicago's going to stay down below. We're going to jump the Wild and the Blues, who I believe the Blues will stay above the Wild. So then it becomes a matter of the 4 above. And how do we sneak in? And it may not be the case that we sneak in behind any of these 4. It may be that we take the Pacific's wildcard spot, which was Las Vegas last time. That's where if we make the playoffs, I think that's what's going to happen. We're going to take the wildcard 2 spot. But now that's assuming everybody stays healthy. Right? Because we don't want to wish anybody injured, because we certainly don't want any of our guys injured. I think if any of these 4 teams at the top if there's going to be a massive shakeup, it's going to be because of a major injury. And I believe that major injury is going to happen to the Avalanche. So I'm actually going to put the Avalanche as the wild card number 1 spot. I would jump the Predators. I think, if Soros stays healthy, I think the Predators did enough to add enough talent that they will jump the Jets. And then maybe everybody kind of goes down a point or 2 and it kind of cascades down. But so I see the Central Division lining up the Dallas, Nashville, Winnipeg, Colorado as the top 4, and then Utah in the 5th spot. But I think that 5th spot in the Central puts us in the 2nd wild card, because I think the Pacific's that weak. Outside of, it's literally the Oilers and everybody else in the Pacific.
Do you think that Stammer and Marcia Show in Nashville are going to just be, because they were so disrespected in the offseason, they're just going to take them all the way to 2nd?
I think Nashville was that good. Nashville was
they were good
down the stretch. Yeah, didn't Nashville go on a run of it was 12 or 13 games in a row they'd won, or
at least 10.
Something crazy.
I think towards the end of the season, they had 10 in a row.
Yeah, they put it together, and I think they did enough to add enough talent to consistency-wise stay their whole season, so they don't need some fluke streak. So I put I think Nashville did enough to get ahead of Winnipeg. So. Mm-hmm. So that's how I see it lining up.
You might be getting a little long in the tooth, but you don't add a Richard Award winner and not see the benefits on the division standings.
It's true. They had a multi-time Richard Award winner, multi-Richard Awards. But that's crazy. I had no idea he was the leading scorer for people born in the 90s. That's fucking insane. That's pretty cool. Go Stammer. Go Stam.
Mm-hmm. I like to look at it for whatever reason, right? We're not exactly, Dustin and I at least are not young whippersnappers anymore, but I like to identify a lot more with hockey players than I should, because there's no, it's a long gone are the days where people playing at 38, 39, 40, and 41, and so I'm thinking, I was like, well, Steven Stamkos is same age as me, It's nah, he was born a few years later.
Full disclosure, I was going to mention that he was getting towards the twilight of his career. He's getting a little old, and then I realized he's 3-4 years younger than me, and I'm like, can't sit here and talk about how old this dude is getting when he's younger than I am.
We're just getting into the prime of our careers in the private sector. You know, he's past his prime. They top out at 27. You know, that's the trade off. But I would take millions upon millions of dollars and capping out at 27. So I would 100% take that deal.
I'd take that deal. I would take that deal.
So how many points do you think we finish with? We finished last year with 77. What are your hopes? What is like realistic and you're hopeful?
So I think we need 90. I think we need 96.
I was going to say 95 should have us like at least in contention, where we're coming down to the last like 10, 8, 9, 10 games, and we still have a shot at it, you know, in order to make the entire season like interesting and down to the wire. We're probably going to need right around 95, 96, somewhere right around there.
Yeah, I think that I don't have I'd have to go look up what Las Vegas's point total was.
I'll go take a look at the standings last year of each conference, the teams that made the playoffs.
I don't think the Kings
Vegas had 98. Vegas had 98, and the Blues, who were the first team out of the playoffs, had 92.
So the 92 is so Vegas got, in my opinion, significantly worse. Los Angeles did not get better. Calgary didn't really get better.
Did Calgary make the playoffs?
No, Calgary did not.
Okay.
So they're not like, so Calgary's not in contention. San Jose, I don't think, is fielding a team this year. I actually think the school for the blind out of
Ontario.
San Bernardino or Ontario, California, the school for the blind is actually playing in lieu of San Jose.
The Ducks didn't get better.
Nope, the Ducks did not get better, or they certainly didn't get good enough. So Vancouver is like, the
Kraken it's didn't get better.
No, I don't think so. So that's why I say the Pacific.
We're the best team in the West.
The Pacific is so weak. It is literally Edmonton and everybody else. The Pacific is so weak. And Utah, if we were in the Pacific, we would crush everybody. We'd probably win every game. Hey, oh my gosh. You want to know what's amazing? I always want to leave listeners with something. Did you know Utah as a franchise is the only unbeaten team in Central Division history?
Ooh,
that's
a nice little nugget of information.
Yep, the only
to send the listeners and viewers with.
Team in the Central Division is Utah. We have never lost a playoff series as a franchise. We've never lost a Stanley Cup final as a franchise. And guess what, guys? We've never even lost a game as a franchise. Central Division, watch out. Guys,
to quote Chael Sonnen, never lost a round, never lost a fight.
Mwah! Guys, we're back. The season is 4 weeks away. I'm excited. I'm glad that we're back. Summer was fun, but the hockey is almost here. We've got a lot of fun sports. It's the fall. A lot of fun things to talk about, and we'll get to them all. We've got some exciting episodes coming up every Wednesday, and in 4 short weeks, we're going to start the game day episodes. Guys, Ryan, Dustin, thanks so much for joining me. Everybody, enjoy your day. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Two Line Pass podcast. Please follow us on Twitter at the Two Line Pass. You can follow Dustin at HighlightsUt. You can follow Randon at TLP Randon and Ryan at CarnsRyan0420. During the off-season, new episodes of the podcast drop every Wednesday with bonus episodes throughout. And during the season, we will have our weekly show plus game day episodes so you don't miss a minute of the action.